This is Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. I am Rachel Sheldon.
And I'm Maurice Severson, and we want you to know that if you don't believe in God, you are not alone. Right here in East Tennessee, you can find free-thinking atheists and agnostics. This is a show for them and people curious about living a life free of supernatural beliefs.
This is a call-in show, however, we only have one phone line, so if you can't go through, we invite you to tweet us and send your tweets to @FFTVKnox.
The Rationalists of East Tennessee monthly activities on the first and third Sunday mornings are usually lectures with lively roundtable discussions. The second Sunday is a book club, and the fourth Sunday is a reflections gathering, which is a potluck afternoon gathering at a member's home.
The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun meetup, often at a bar or restaurant. Tonight's meetup at Barley's for happy hour tonight after the show for food, drink, and conversation. And Friday we will meet for happy hour at the Field House atop Bearden Hill. To find us at either of these places, just look for the silver-jacketed copy of The God Delusion standing upright on the table.
Today is December 18th, and we will be talking about how Christian is Christmas.
But first, in the news. And in a really surprising turn of events, the Mormon Church has decided that homosexuality is not a choice. The church still believes that the lifestyle and the act are a sin, but the lifestyle and act is everything from acting a certain way to hand-holding and kissing, and everything other than that. And the church has a new website to reach out to gays and lesbians, and it has videos of church leaders talking to Mormons with AIDS, and what I think is, a really good step in the whole thing is urging parents not to reject their kids when they come out gay.
Yeah, a lot of homeless teens in Utah are homeless because their Mormon parents have thrown them out of the house, even though they're minor children, because
illegal.
they found them. Yeah, because they've found out that they're gay.
And I believe it's over 80% of the teens there that are homeless. It's because of that, and they end up drug addicted, actually, because they feel like they have to keep, they have to stay high in order to, so they won't sleep, because if they get asleep, they'll get, who knows what'll happen.
And of course, there's not a lot of available work for teenagers with no place to live, so they're much more likely to get involved in crime or sex work, things that they wouldn't have done if they'd been allowed to stay with their families. And of course, this is from a religion that prides itself on focusing on family. And
being very family-oriented and family-friendly.
So at least that's a little bit of a step in the right direction.
Yeah, even though they're urging gays and lesbians to live a chaste lifestyle, which to them means married to an opposite-sex partner, no matter what or who you're attracted to.
Yeah.
Which I remember you were saying earlier is, related to the whole, you deserve to hate yourself. And
yeah. You're a miserable sinner, and here's why you deserve to suffer. So.
Yeah. But I'm glad, there is a silver lining. Hopefully, families won't kick out their kids.
Yeah.
And actually, I've known people that have been kicked out in this area for coming out.
Yeah. Yeah, they're certainly not alone in their antipathy toward homosexuality. So.
And an investigation in Texas looked for Muslim bias in textbooks. And the investigation started after a chain email was sent to district and school board officials in the Dallas area this October. The report finally came out in this month, and the school district had an official from the organization that made the curriculum investigate, and actually the person that they had be the investigator is very fiscally and socially conservative and watches Glenn Beck on a regular basis. And from the 72-page report, they decided that there's a Christian bias, not a Muslim one. Imagine that, and it starts in kindergarten, it's all the way through high school. Christianity got twice as much attention as any other religion.
Yeah.
And there were references to the controversial things in the email that were not found like calling the Boston Tea Party a terrorist act, and references to the Red Crescent. If you don't know, way back when in the late 1800s, early 1900s, the Red Crescent was just the Central Asian, Middle Eastern version of the Red Cross.
Yeah, and still is.
Which seems like a really strange thing to be upset about.
Yeah.
And if there was any Islamic bias in the curriculum, it was against radical Islam, which, radical Islam, I don't think many people have a problem, having a bias against.
Yeah. People trying to kill you and saying that you deserve to die it's very difficult to want to preserve their freedom of speech.
And I find it amazing that they launched this investigation, since in 2010 the Texas Board of Education banned books that paint Islam into favorable light. Their words, so they came out and said it. We can't have any books in our schools that say anything good about Islam.
Yeah. Texas.
Yeah, and of course Texas is most publishing companies that that publish textbooks.
Because Texas has such a large population in schools, the way that textbooks are written is that companies go and market them toward California and Texas because they have the most students. And so the Texas Board of Education that adopts or says we're not going to adopt a particular line of textbooks is incredibly powerful, much like a very powerful lobby would be in Congress. They have the money to buy the books, so if you don't write what they want to hear, there's a very good chance that they're not going to adopt your books. And of course, that means that people tend to write things that are going to appeal to them, whether they're actually correct or not. So.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure how I feel about this one. Anonymous, which is hacking, what they call themselves, hacktivists.
Oh, yeah.
Hacks Westboro for planning to picket the Sandy Hook funerals. And
yeah, the Westboro Baptist Church, of course, is well known for picketing funerals in this country of soldiers. And
people that die in horrible ways.
Yeah, because they believe that it's God's punishment for us being too liberal as a nation. I believe they said this time that because the Northeast had passed gay marriage in several states, that those children being slaughtered was God's plan.
And that we should be happy that they died.
Yes, several different pastors have said that, because these children have gone to God, that we should all be rejoicing. I'm pretty sure that their parents don't feel that way, and I certainly don't feel that way. I think that we need to take action in this country to make sure that tragedies like this don't happen. I can understand wanting to comfort people by saying that perhaps there is some sort of silver lining to this, but to me, if you really believe that that's what your God, how he acts, by killing children to make you believe something is right or wrong, that's a pretty terrible God, and I certainly don't think he's worthy of worship.
Yeah, but Shirley Phelps Roper tweeted the Westboro Baptist Church's intentions to pick Sandy Hook funerals, and I'm sure it's this point you're thinking, wait, Westboro has a Twitter account? Well, yes, they do, and it got hacked. And the church posted a video called God Sent the Shooter, which is supposed to be a message to Connecticut. In retaliation, Anonymous published personal information of many of the Westboro Baptist Church members, not just their names, but their addresses, their phone numbers, and which of course is illegal, but it's really hard to find and prosecute an organization that is completely online. And these are people, they have, these are really smart people. I mean, they're computer hackers. They know how to hide their tracks.
Yeah.
And in addition, Shirley Phelps Roper's Twitter account was hacked by a 15-year-old. known as Cosmo the God, who changed the avatar and background graphic to pray for Newtown. Also, he's on probation until he's 21 years old because he was caught hacking into the CIA's mainframe.
He has some mad skills, let's put it that way.
And I'm thinking, you know, pretty soon in the future, he's going to be working for some very powerful people and better.
Yes, probably.
And he's also banned from actually being online without an adult being present. And yeah. But Anonymous, this isn't the first time. They've been in a long war with Westboro. 2 years ago, they hacked into one of the Westboro websites while live on air during a radio interview with Shirley Phelps Roper, who insisted, while she was being hacked, that the church's websites were protected by God.
Apparently God has not updated his malware protection.
And in a strange twist, the KKK is counter-protesting Westboro Baptist Church at the Sandy Hook funerals.
Which proves that politics makes for truly, truly strange bedfellows. I think a more fruitful and productive thing to do to protest Westboro Baptist Church. The Southern Poverty Law Center has already declared Westboro as a hate group, and there is currently a petition being signed, the White House petition, to have the government also declare them as a hate group, which is a legal way to express your dissatisfaction that this group is performing these acts that are just at the very best tasteless and
at the worst.
Yeah, just incredibly cruel to people who have already lost so very much.
In such a small community of 27,000 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been really a strange week.
Yeah.
In the world of, or in the world of, in general. Yeah.
Yeah, in the world of faith.
Yeah. And you know, while Westboro, you know, of course, you know, they're saying that, you know, God did this and God did that, but there's so many other people on TV saying that, you know, it's our fault that this happened because we're not listening to God. And there was actually this Tennessee pastor who said that it happened because children are indoctrinated into becoming homo-loving, evolution-loving people who do not learn to think in school. And while, yeah, I do have, you know, my qualms about the education system, that's definitely not what I learned in school, and I haven't really been out that long.
Did you want to?
Yeah, sure. And we'd like to remind you that this is a call-in show. Call in with your questions and comments.
And the phone number is on the screen there.
Or you can tweet us at FFTV Knox. And now on to our subject, the origins of Christmas.
Yeah, how Christian is Christmas? My shirt, I don't know if you can tell, it says the tilt of the Earth's axis. It's the reason for the season. And this, I believe it's Saturday, the 21st of December is the winter solstice. It is, in the northern hemisphere, the shortest day of the year. It has the least daylight and the most darkness. And the closer you get to the North Pole, the shorter that day is. In extremely northern regions, it's called in the summertime, it's the land of the midnight sun. And in the wintertime, it's basically the land of no sun. It's very, very dark for long periods of time. And so, especially in Northern Europe, it was very important to people that they tracked the day that the light started to come back. And that's after the 21st is when the days start to get perceptibly longer. Winter is obviously still yawning ahead of you, very, cold and extreme temperatures and things like that. But at least it's this symbol of hope that if the light is coming back, then the spring will be back. And so.
And humans have been doing that, pretty much as long as there's been humanity, because it's so important. It was so important, for these early hunter-gatherers to know, what season it is, when the animals are going to be coming a certain way, what fruits and berries and nuts are going to be around.
Yeah.
And they were very in tune with nature. It's like just like Stonehenge, it's a giant calendar. The shadows move at a certain time and on a certain day of the year. This happens.
Yeah, it's aligned. Stonehenge is aligned to either or both. It works both ways. The summer solstice or the winter solstice.
And of course, which flips when in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
But you'll see, all over the world at this certain time of the year, there are different celebrations. There have been different celebrations because it's a worldwide phenomenon because, it's the entire planet.
Yeah.
That's,
And so a lot of ancient cultures had celebrations around this time of year. And again, a lot of them predate the worship of Jehovah. They predate the worship of Christ, obviously. And a lot of the stories may sound slightly familiar. Around 200 BC, the Romans worshipped a god called Attis. And he was born of a virgin, Nana, on the 25th of December. He was a shepherd when he grew up. He died. He was crucified on a tree around March 25th. He descended into the underworld for 3 days and then was reborn. He arose on a Sunday, and it was a solar deity, obviously. Some people don't realize the names of our weekdays come from the old religions. Monday is the moon's day. Tuesday is from Twi, which is a Norse god.
And Wednesday is from Odin, or Woden.
Woden. Thursday is Thor's Day, which, of course, a lot more people know him since the Avengers movie came out. Friday, again, Freyr and Freya. Yeah, both were a brother-sister Norse god and goddess. Saturday is from Saturn, the Roman god. And Sunday indicates the worship of the sun, and many ancient religions worship the sun. The Egyptians, the Norse, the Druids, on and on and on, because it's such.
The Zoroastrians and the Mayans and the Aztecs.
Yeah, and if we're not back. We have a 2-week hiatus, but if we're not back, it's probably because the Mayans were right and the world has come to an end. But yeah, Attis was born on December the 25th. The Roman or the Persian god Mithra, also born in a virgin birth. Was heralded by shepherds in the fields who brought him gifts and adored him. And he was also born on December the 25th.
And he was a god of light and loyalty and was very popular among the Roman soldiers
at
the time who, were, all around the Mediterranean.
Yep. And he also was an incarnation of the sun god known as the Principle of Light, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Lots of different things. He was killed and was again reborn, and his incarnation as the invincible sun is the reason that the Christians switched from worshiping on Saturday to worshiping on Sunday, because in the Old Testament, we hear about the earth was made and on the 7th day God rested. Well, obviously that's Saturday in every calendar I've ever seen. And there are people who will tell you their faith is based on that fact, that, you know, the Seventh-day Adventists, they say, hey, you should not be worshiping on Sunday because you're doing a pagan ritual if you do that.
And of course, you know, the Jews.
Yeah, there starts on there's
starts at Friday at sundown.
At sundown and goes through Saturday.
And also, early Christians didn't celebrate Christmas. The origins are Greco-Roman, as is the date, and commemorations actually only started in the 2nd century. And the Roman Church only started celebrating Christmas in 336 AD, when Constantine, the first Christian emperor, decided to make Christianity the empire's official religion. But the date wasn't accepted in the eastern part of the empire for 50 years, and Christmas wasn't actually a major Christmas festival until the 9th century. You know, when Gaul and all those areas were being invaded.
Yeah, again, the original Christian church, a lot of the emphasis was on converting Jews into becoming Christians. And as it grew in popularity and they started expanding their territory to what were pagan cultures, they switched this emphasis to, instead of trying to convert Jews, they tried to convert pagans.
And by actually, like, instead of, or with converting, sort of assimilating the cultures.
Yeah, people didn't want, they would come in and say, well, you know, here, we always do this celebration. You're saying we have to give that up, and we don't want to give that up.
We like it. It's fun.
Yeah, we're having a good time. The Saturnalia festival of the Romans was very popular, and it was a huge celebration for many days.
And with it right after that was Sol Invictus, the rebirth of the unconquered sun, which was on December 25th.
Yeah. And
actually, Saturnalia also included gift giving.
Yeah, there was gift giving, and there was people, what we would describe as caroling, except that they kind of got drunk and did it naked. But they would go and you know, have singing and dancing, and there were rituals where the slaves and the masters would change places, basically, which is still reflected in England as Boxing Day, where the bosses become the people below, and the people below become the bosses for a day, which is celebrated on the day after Christmas.
And there's the traditions that are left over from the Nordic religions, like mistletoe, where you hang it up and you go under it and kiss somebody.
Yep.
And there's the Yule log.
Yep. And the Yule log is a similar story to the miracle of Hanukkah. It was, you went and cut down this enormous log and you would throw it on the fire, and it was supposed to burn for the 12 days. And when we hear about the 12 days of Christmas, a lot of people don't even know when they are anymore. In the Roman Catholic calendar, they begin on December the 21st, and they go through the Feast of the Epiphany on January the 6th. But most people think it's the other way around. If I ask most of the people I work with, I imagine they would say, you know, it's the 13th. We've started the 12 days of Christmas. And it's like, no, you haven't. It's the other way around.
Yeah. And the origin of mistletoe, from the myth of Baldur, who was the grandson of Thor in Nordic mythology. He woke up certain that every plant and animal wanted to kill him. And so his wife, he was so upset he wouldn't go get up or do anything. So his wife and mother decided to ask every living thing not to harm him. And they asked everything. They asked the worms. They asked, you know, the trees and everything. However, they missed the mistletoe because it's a parasite in a tree.
Yeah. Up in the top there.
And so, but they didn't realize that they missed it. So they went to Baldur and said, "Don't worry, you can get up and, you know, live now. You don't have to worry about everything killed him." So he stood up and paused to celebrate his freedom and got shot by a mistletoe-tipped arrow by his evil brother. And the wife and mother had forgotten that, and so they decided to hang up the mistletoe so nobody would ever forget. Okay? And we now have a caller. Caller, can you hear us?
Hello, caller?
Is this an atheist program?
Yes, it is. Can we have a name or a nickname?
Jan.
Hi, Sam. How you doing?
Just wondering, I'll just comment, they're not very articulate. They don't need to be on TV. They're just so ignorant. Don't know how to talk. Don't know what they're talking about. Thank you.
Oh. All right, well, thank you for sharing.
Happy holidays to you too.
Yes, exactly.
Well, yeah, we miss you. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
There you go.
I mean, we don't, want to harm anybody. We like celebrating, the holidays and getting together with family.
Yeah. I'll be working, but so that the other people that I work with can go celebrate with their families. But we're approaching the mid-term break here. Do you want to do that?
Okay. In case you're just tuning in, this is the Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. Freethought Forum is funded jointly by them and by individual contributions. Shows are live most every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Community Access Television. You can also see it streaming online outside the Knoxville area. Just go to ctvknox.org.
This is a call-in show, and we are live today, December the 18th. And viewers can call in now to the number on the screen or tweet them to us at FFTVKnox.
The Atheist Society of... Oh, is that the end? No.
Yeah, I'm good. Keep going.
The Atheist Society of Knoxville, or Ask, meets 2 times a week. We have evening meetups for fun, food, drink, and conversation. Ask's purpose is to supply a venue for community, camaraderie, and outreach to atheist, agnostics, freethinkers, and other like-minded persons in the East Tennessee area.
And you can go to meetup.com and search for Atheist and Knoxville to find the group. And they have a informational video about both groups, which you will see now.
Do you find stories of talking snakes laughable? Do you prefer the scientific method over supernatural beliefs? Are you concerned about religious leaders and organizations imposing their values and rules on your body, your family, and the rest of our society? Well, take comfort in the fact that you're not alone. The Rationalists of East Tennessee meets weekly for fellowship and provides a forum for people who support skeptical thinking and rational discussion of these and other issues. To find out more information or to find out about our next meeting, visit us on the web at www.rationalist.org.
Yeah, things like the story of Scrooge. It's about family.
Yeah. We're back with the show. Our topic today is how Christian is Christmas. We've been going over some of the ancient cultures that predate Christianity.
And what traditions have piggybacked.
Yeah, and the Christian church itself has not always been of one mind about Christmas. The Pope determined in the 3rd century that this would be the day that they would celebrate Christmas as a way of appealing to the pagans. The Bible makes no mention anywhere of December the 25th as being the birth of Christ.
Or celebrating Christmas beyond the nativity.
Yeah, obviously Christ was a Jew, and Jews don't celebrate birthdays. So it would not have been something that was marked at all, really. It would just wasn't, they felt the important thing was the day that you died. And that would be the day that they would celebrate your life, your relatives would get together when, Grandpa had passed, instead of celebrating someone's birthday, because that was just their priority. The popes did decide that in order to appeal to these people who they were trying to convert, it was probably easier to tell them, well, you can just go on celebrating that day. We're just going to ask you to call it something else. So instead of celebrating, the god Saturn, we want you to celebrate the birth of Jesus. And the Bible itself mentions things that are very contradictory to that time of year. They talk about the shepherds in the field at night with their flocks.
That would not happen in the middle of the winter.
It's warmer in the Middle East, but it's not that warm in December.
It still snows there.
Yeah, so it's much more likely that that would be a springtime occurrence, because they would be watching over the newly born sheep. The lamb process are much more vulnerable.
In life.
Yeah, which is why Jesus is symbolized frequently in, iconography as a lamb. But people did continue to celebrate in much the same fashion, even though they may not have been celebrating to the same God. Again, there was drunkenness and rape, but now they added the persecution of Jews. In Jewish abuse, they would, let's say, 1466, someone wrote a letter to Pope Paul II. They would force well-fed Jews to run naked through the streets of Rome. In 1836, so we're talking about a very long time, one of the main rabbis asked Pope Gregory the 14th to stop this persecution, and his answer was, "It is not opportune to make any innovation." That's how much of a tradition it was to, humiliate these other people and persecute them. In 1881, in Warsaw, a large number of Jews were murdered and raped and maimed in Warsaw to celebrate Christmas.
Also, the tradition of the Christmas ham started to try to get people who were Jewish who converted, either out of force or,
the Inquisition.
Or like the Inquisition, or they actually did that to make sure that these people were actually Christians and still not secretly practicing Judaism.
Yeah, it was a test. So,
which of course, it's strange how it's still stuck around all these years later.
I always prefer turkey, but that's me. So, when the Reformation came, a lot of the Protestant faiths felt that, especially based on the behavior of these kind of drunken orgies and roaming through the streets and rampaging against people, were inappropriate with their vision of, being Christ-like. And so a lot of them actually felt that they would not celebrate Christmas.
And
England,
they thought it was too pagan.
Yeah, and they pointed out it's too pagan of a holiday.
Which they, actually had a point.
Yeah, they were right. It is. The Reverend Increase Mather of Boston,
a very popular Puritan minister at the time of the Mather family.
Yeah, he and in Boston, Christmas observances were actually illegal for many years.
And we have a caller.
Cool. Hi, caller. You're on the air. Do we have a name or a nickname for you?
Yes, my name is Shara.
Hi, Shara. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, and I'm so pleased to see two female co-hosts on the show.
Oh, well, thank you.
I love it. I love it when you have two females on rather than the talking male heads.
Oh,
so
well, we like to switch things up.
Yeah.
I was attracted by your topic, and I wanted to state, in case your audience may not realize, that we at the Rationalist of East Tennessee had a very special speaker just a few weeks ago. It was on December the 8th, so just less than 2 weeks ago, when we had Tom Flynn, who's the executive director of the Council for Secular Humanism, and he came to Pellissippi State Technical Community Conference and spoke to a broad range of pub people, and it was wonderful. The title of his topic was "The Trouble with Christmas,"
Yes.
And he talked about many of the things that I think you ladies wanted to address today. The fact that Christmas as social celebration
you're breaking
so
up a little.
much baggage is that it really is meaningless. And it's a wonderful talk, and I'm sorry that most of your audience probably missed it.
Yeah, I went and I have his book, The Trouble with Christmas, and it was a very entertaining talk, and he's a great speaker. I really enjoyed it. So.
Well, I'm glad you were there, and just wanted to let everyone know that we do practice that level of excellent national speakers to this area, and it's very informative, and I encourage people to attend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Thought you were done. But yeah, the rationalists do some great speakers. I've been to a couple of their things out at Pellissippi, and they usually have a posting for their upcoming events, not only on their own website, but in the Metro Pulse and things like that. So if you're looking through the lectures or things like that, there's some really interesting things that they sponsor. So yeah, back to our topic. In America, like I said, practicing Christmas was illegal in Boston from 1659 to 1681.
And this wasn't strictly a Boston thing, it was anywhere the Puritans settled.
Yeah, and the observance of Christmas was not widespread in America at all during the early part of our country up until 1870, which, if you're looking at a country that, the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, that's a long time. And that's when, on June 26th, it did actually become a federal holiday. But it was not common for people to have off from work and businesses to close. So people who will tell you that the current atheist movement is having a war on Christmas and trying to make sure that we're taking away things that have been this long tradition in this country are simply ill-informed at the very best, and they're just lying if they know the truth.
Yeah, and the Puritans actually, not only did they outlaw celebrating Christmas, you got a pretty hefty fine if they caught you being happy while celebrating Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't only there too. When Oliver Cromwell was the dictator in England, he banned Christmas, and the entire time he was the dictator, nobody in the country could celebrate it because he was actually a Puritan and he was the leader of the movement.
Yeah. But yeah, one of the comments that Increase Mather said, early Christians who first observed the Nativity on December the 25th did not do so thinking that Christ was born in that month, but because the heathen Saturnalia was at that time kept in Rome, and they were willing to have those pagan holidays metamorphosed into Christmas or Christian ones. And so it's not just an atheist perspective that Christmas is actually a pagan holiday. It has been a Christian perspective that Christmas is a pagan holiday as well.
And we have another caller.
Okay.
Hello. Can we have a nickname or name?
My name's Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
How are you today?
Just fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I've got a concern about a lot of back home. The school shootings. I'm noticing that some of the priests are fighting.
Okay, you're breaking up a lot. Maybe you could try to keep your phone a little bit farther away from your face. We sometimes find that helps.
Does that work better?
Yeah, we're doing good.
Okay. And some of the preachers are talking that that's happening because we don't have God in the school.
Yeah, a lot of the people had blamed the school shootings on that.
Which seems really strange.
I guess that means that when us adults regulate and have preaching or prayer in school, that God gets upset and kills a bunch of kids. It just doesn't make sense to me at all.
It doesn't make sense to us either.
Yeah, it seems a rather strange logic. So.
I think we need to face up to the problems in society, and we're not going to do that until I think we have to accept the fact more likely there isn't a God, and it's up to us to solve our own problems. And I don't know how we can do that in society when the biggest part believes in the man guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I do too. It's very difficult, you know, to take responsibility for what's happening in a day-to-day basis when you think that this whole life is meaningless and all that matters is what happens after you die.
Yeah, and if that's the point, then, you know, why should anybody keep on living?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you keep on living because you enjoy it while you're here.
Exactly.
But I think about all the money that this Sunday morning is going to get thrown at the churches. And I think about what that money could be used for and how that could advance our civilization and how we could take care of some of these people that have been ill, rather than build tremendous monuments to an invisible man guy.
Yeah, again, you're breaking up a little bit, but I think we kind of get the gist. I think a lot of the problem is, you know, as long as you have people believing that mental illness is caused by demons, you're never going to make any progress. And understanding that mental illness is illness, just like any other illness,
like diabetes
or heart disease or cancer, and it needs treatment, and to get treatment in this country requires money.
Well, in this country, we reward mental illness. We encourage mental
narcissism, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, when you try and convince people that there's an invisible man in the sky, that if you pray to him, he'll protect your child and maybe kill some of the other children because they don't have prayer in their school, then it is a mental illness.
At
least it's a society. Yeah, I was going to say, it's at least a societal illness.
Yes, and you know, in Christianity, they claim, or a lot of Christians claim, you know, that they're trying to help everybody when, you know, really what these people really need and what would really benefit society is people that are mentally ill to be, you know, everybody's better off if these people are taken care of.
Yeah. But yeah, I think certainly the majority of people who are Christians don't have that same viewpoint, and they do believe, and certainly churches can do good through charities and helping people. I don't know that those dollars aren't better spent elsewhere, but it's certainly up to other people's conscience where they spend their money. But we appreciate you calling, and by all means, the Ask Meetup tonight is already started at.
I'm gonna have to miss it tonight, but we'll try.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, we'll
see you some other time.
Yeah, we appreciate you calling. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, and what I've noticed is, like a lot of these people that are saying that God's missing in schools, I don't know if they either don't know or they ignore it. Children are free to pray in class, at lunch, before school, after school, anytime during school, as long as they're not disrupting other students. As you know, there's the saying that as long as there are math tests in school, there will be prayer.
Yeah. It is only led by the authority figures who are representing your government and therefore are supposed to be separated from endorsing a particular religion or any religion in their capacity that is prohibited. There's nothing wrong with students, and most schools, especially around here,
have an FCA.
Yeah, have a Fellowship of Christian Athletes or some sort of prayer group Bible study, which occurs on school property. As long as it is led by the students, there's nothing wrong with that. And we have another caller. Hi, caller. You're on the air. Do we have a name or a nickname?
I think they're not there.
Oh, okay, maybe not. They must have hung up. But how Christian is Christmas? Not very much. The resurgence of Christmas was actually a Victorian phenomenon. The works of Charles Dickens, Queen Victoria, who married Prince Albert, who was German, and brought a lot of the German traditions of bringing in a tree. And again, Germany is the more northern country, and the Germanic people, the evergreens are traditionally a symbol of everlasting life or the promise of life in the springtime, because when all the other trees have lost their leaves, they are a sign that something is still alive and there's hope and the spring will be coming. So they would gather evergreen boughs and branches and bring them inside, and that evolved into the Tannenbaum and the Christmas tree, and really that was not seen in Britain, that was not seen in the United States until 1849, when this picture was presented in England of their family surrounding the Christmas tree. And she was incredibly influential. They were incredibly influential as a couple. They are also the reason that most people get a diamond engagement ring. That is a Queen Victoria idea. Before that, diamonds had no more significance for engagement rings than any other stone. So yeah,
or even really a ring.
Yeah, I mean, before that, just the idea of an engagement ring. But yeah, so that, and then the Night Before Christmas, the poem by Clement Moore. Those things were what popularized Christmas, and it was the idea of family. And of course, those things don't really have anything to do about Christ either. They are things about the celebration of family and the celebration of home. The observance of Christmas before that was much more about drunken revelry. A lot of the celebrations that today we would probably associate with Mardi Gras in New Orleans or Halloween night. There was actually one of the things that the Christmas celebration in those years brought us is the idea of having a police force that is standing by. That was because there was a riot at West Point among the military cadets in 1828 over smuggling in whiskey for eggnog that shut the place down, and that was when the city of New York implemented the idea of a standing police force. Before that, if you wanted a policeman to investigate something, you had to hire him. So if your wife was murdered or raped, you had to have enough money to go investigate that crime. So that is one good thing that the Christmas riots brought us. Again, that whole looking into the silver lining in something horrible.
Yes, and like you said, celebrating Christmas isn't really that American a thing as people think. It is the Jehovah's Witnesses, which were started in the United States. They don't celebrate any holiday or birthday.
Right.
Which, it sort of, they try to, I believe they tried to go back to sort of the Jewish roots of, and they rightly state that Halloween and Christmas are way too pagan.
Yeah.
For them. And Teddy Roosevelt, the president, he was a conservationist and would not have a Christmas tree in the White House. So I think we could state that he's the one who really started the war on Christmas. The presidents before him, the presidents after them, they all had Christmas trees in the house except for him. And yes, actually, the media tried to make a big deal out of it, but
and he was a Republican, by the way.
But it never really got going. There were people who got upset and wrote in the newspapers, but he got away with it.
Yep. Teddy didn't really care much what other people thought so much, but yeah, and the observation of Christmas as we observe it now as a commercial family, child-oriented holiday, is very much an American institution. The things we have here show, you know, most of the things we associate with Christmas are not particularly Christian. We have,
I mean, elf ears?
Yeah, we have elf ears, and yeah, people will say that, you know, Santa Claus is a you know, based on Saint Nicholas, but really the association of Santa has a lot more to do with the night before Christmas, and Thomas Nast, who drew a picture, and with Harold Sundblom, who worked for Coca-Cola, who was the person who, before that depiction of Santa Claus or Père Noël or the other Father Christmas, he might be wearing brown, he might be wearing green, yeah, in different natural colors to associate the greenness. And we have a caller.
Hello, can we have a name or nickname?
Brent.
Hi,
Hey.
Brent.
Hello. Earlier, I heard you say something quite disturbing, that Christians are mentally ill, you're saying?
No.
Because that's exactly what Joseph Goebbels, that's the kind of propaganda that Joseph Goebbels spread for his boss Hitler.
If you'll go back and listen, it was the caller who said that, but we did agree that if you view children being slaughtered as somehow a good thing, that's pretty much a very skewed point of view.
Well, where do you come off saying that Christians would think that was a good thing? That was evil.
Because, no, there are a lot of Christians who are posting online, including pastors, who have said exactly that.
And even Mike Huckabee.
Yeah.
You believe everything you read online. You believe that everybody who says they're a pastor online is, right?
Well, no, but at the same time, these are people
that
who,
are professing
and they're not, yeah, they are. The point is that we don't believe that all Christians believe any one thing, any more than all atheists believe one thing, or all women believe one thing. The point is that some people, and they are, I mean, it's video of people preaching to their, you know, to their parsonage at their church.
Well, have you been to these churches? Do you have names of these pastors?
I was going to say, we have videos. I obviously, I'm an atheist. I don't attend church as a rule.
You haven't been in these churches then. You really don't know if
Actually,
they said it or not.
I have. I grew up in this sort of thing.
You haven't been there.
No, we haven't been there, but
okay,
we have evidence that this happened.
I have another question for you.
Okay.
You claim you don't believe in God, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You claim you don't believe in God. May I ask why you don't believe in Him?
Because we see no evidence for Him.
Because you don't see Him. Okay. Well, okay. Have you ever seen Alexander the Great? Have you ever seen Napoleon? Have you ever seen...
No, but we can exhume them.
Or Pocahontas? Did you ever see them?
No.
Do you believe they existed?
Yes, because there is evidence that they existed.
Let me ask you this. Can you see oxygen?
No, but we can observe it through other means.
With an electron microscope, we can.
That's okay. You know, if you choose to stay with the sin of unbelief and send yourself to hell, that's that's fine.
Well, we don't believe in hell, so that is fine with us.
Christians have mental illness because they're a Christian.
We did not say that.
Propagate that. That's a terrible view. That's what Hitler said.
Well, actually, Hitler also claimed to be doing the Lord's work.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. And it is on film, so I guess that wouldn't be enough evidence for you because I wasn't there personally to hear him.
Himalayas to find ancient Indian occult artifacts. Did you not know that?
Those were his underlings. He actually wrote a letter to the Pope saying that he thought he was a good Catholic.
Yes. And he was not actually censured by the church until very recently, like 50 years after the fact.
Let me ask you this. If you don't believe in God, why are you so grandly obsessed with Him? Why do you have a TV show about Him if you don't believe in it? Shouldn't you have a show about fashion or celebrity? Why are you wasting your time talking about God if you don't believe in it? Aren't you wasting your time?
Well, because the effects of religion do affect us quite profoundly. In several countries, people would stone us to death for our beliefs today. Just, and...
Wait a minute. Atheistic regimes, like in the Soviet Union, for example, have murdered 100 million people. Did you know Hitler killed probably 7 to 8 million?
And there are probably 100 religious wars going on right now.
And yeah, and how many Native Americans did the Christian,
missionaries kill? How many
Africans?
These people personally, you knew they were Christians, huh? You know what it sounds? It sounds to me like your religion of secular humanism, which you have to proselytize for. I'm
not actually a secular humanist, so.
That sounds like is that all you got?
I didn't catch that. You're breaking up on the phone.
To cascade and lie about Christians, say that all the world's ills are caused by them.
We didn't say that.
I'm not sure. Just because you think that one atheist says something doesn't mean that every atheist thinks that. I mean, this is why we do the show, so you could ask us questions, and actually see what we think.
I've been sitting here listening to it. That's all you do is trap Christians.
Well, that's not what we're trying to do.
You didn't object to that. Christians have a mental illness. You didn't object to that at all.
Actually, we did. We said we see it more as a societal illness.
That's not an objection. That's an apology. Okay,
no.
I was going to say.
I'm being intellectually dishonest. Y'all have a good night.
Okay, you too.
Merry Christmas.
But,
look, I'm okay if people practice their religion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, there are a lot of religious people who do a lot of good things.
Exactly.
There are,
and there are a lot of non-religious people who do a lot of good things.
And, and the flip side is true. There are non-religious people who do bad things. There are religious people who do bad things. We don't think that, that atheists are special. Or
right. We're people, and people, as a rule, vary. Your mileage may vary. Every possibility is represented by humanity. There are people, I guess one of the differences for me is that a lot of the Christians that I know will tell you that good works don't matter. That it doesn't matter whether you do good things or not, because what matters is that you've been saved. And I hear this on a daily basis. I think most atheists that I know believe that good works do matter. And we're certainly not a Stalin any more than the average Christian is a Hitler.
Okay,
we have a call, but we are really running out of time. We have less than a minute left. Please, caller, call back next time. We would love to hear from you.
Would you just write down, honey, and it's all about loving one another. We are all humans, and that's what we ought to see in one another.
Amen.
Put aside
Absolutely.
all these different beliefs.
Thank you.
We're all human. We need to walk peace and love one another.
Exactly. And that's a very good, end note.
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you.
Hang up. Bye.
All right. So it's time to start wrapping things up.
Get out your pen and paper.
Yeah.